Making up a song about copyright.
Welcome to 5 Great Villain Songs, where we talk about one villain song from each of the 5 categories: non-Disney movies, theater, TV shows, video games, and fan-made. These are not ordered in any way and will release a volume every month. Feel free to let me know what other songs you want me to talk about in a future volume. In the meantime, enjoy the show.
Who's bad?
If you've watched any Christian cinema from back in the day, you know full well that they're
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.
of varying quality. But lately, it feels like Christian media has gone through a renaissance of sorts, like it rose from the dead or a second coming. Shows like The Chosen and movies like Jesus Revolution and Cabrini are recognized as masterpieces within the Christian market. Arguably, one such film is Journey to Bethlehem, which is about, what else? Joseph and Mary's journey to Bethlehem. Admittedly, this movie isn't held in as high regard as the Christian media I just described, and that's in large part due to its, alterations to the story of the birth of Jesus, which, need I remind you, is in a religious text. But to the film's credit, it's got some pretty good musical numbers. One such song comes from our main antagonist, King Herod. Herod the Great is described in the Bible as being, well, not that great. In fact, he's been labeled as the coordinator of the massacre of the innocents. Basically, he's the type of king who likes the executing people part of his job rather than the actually being a ruler part. And this man serves as the villain of Journey to Bethlehem, and he's played by Antonio Banderas of all people. And he gets a villain song! Good to Be King is the perfect song to capture King Herod's mentality as the king of Judea. He puts on this larger-than-life persona that draws in all of his subjects. Even when he's torturing or executing them, they all bow down and fear his name. And we see this tantalizing, larger-than-life persona showcased in a musical number that sounds like it came straight out of The Greatest Showman. The lyrics give us a look into how King Herod truly conducts himself as a leader. To him, leadership isn't about benevolence, mercy, or setting a good example. It's about doing all that you can to show the other nations that you are superior and worthy of all your riches, recognition, and worship. On a side note, Antonio Banderas' singing voice is perfect for this role. Sure, Joe Smallbone does a good job as well, but the song makes it very clear that Herod is the star of the show here. And heck, given how fast Antonio Banderas can go, I can't say I'm surprised. Overall, Good to Be King is just one example of how the music and zaniness of Journey to Bethlehem work in its favor. King Herod isn't portrayed as some stoic ruler with no expression or engagement. He's a villain who truly steals the show with his expressiveness and musical talent. And the stoic guards dancing around as they maintain their deadpan expressions is icing on the cake. Fun fact, I discovered this song for a Wish fan animatic, and wow, does it work better than what we actually got. Low bar, I know, but seriously, if Wish went with this kind of angle for Magnifico, it would be Good to Be King. If I told you that the same guy responsible for Cats, Phantom of the Opera, and Evita also wrote a rock opera Broadway musical about the events surrounding the death of Jesus Christ, I'm pretty sure some of you would say, dude, are you high? But no, it's real. And it's glorious with difficult vocal performances and catchy rock riffs. Look no further than the opening song, Heaven on Their Minds. Rarely is a villain song the opener, but since this musical is told almost completely from Judas's perspective, yes, Judas Iscariot, the man who betrayed Jesus to death. It makes a lot of sense to get his point of view established first. We start right when Judas is waking up to the idea that Jesus is not the Messiah that he wants, the one who will free them from Rome's occupation and oppression, but a different one, the Messiah of prophecy. He's so focused on who he thinks Jesus is supposed to be that he has missed who Jesus actually is.
I remember when this whole thing began. No talk of God, then we called you a man.
Wrongo. If you had been his right-hand man all along and paid attention, you'd know that he calls himself the Son of Man, not just a man. Even you called him Son of God. It is very interesting how this interpretation of Judas doesn't actually believe Jesus is God. He, like many others nowadays, just sees him as merely a great moral teacher. Now, I'm not going to proselytize as to why that doesn't work, as there are wiser men than I who have already done so, but I will say that it's interesting how Judas views him as a respectable man who is soaking up the praise too much, and is worried about Jesus getting himself killed and doing more harm than good in the long run. What makes him a villain is the route he takes to address the problem. He betrays someone he respects, an innocent man, into getting killed over a notorious prisoner like Barabbas. The funny thing about this song is that Judas really is missing the forest for the trees. Judas claims that Jesus' followers have too much heaven on their minds when, that's kind of where their minds should be? Yes, the Roman occupation is bad, but certainly the kingdom of heaven is higher on the priority totem pole. There's a reason it's mentioned at the beginning of or in nearly every parable that I can think of. I wish I could also talk about the other big song, Superstar, because it delves into the big questions philosophers have been asking for centuries. Or even This Jesus Must Die would have worked, and I would have loved to talk about the politics at the time with Caiaphas and the other Pharisees. But considering that Judas is one of the biggest villains in the Christian faith, had to be heaven on their minds for me. Finally, I get to talk about this song. Remember back in Villain Songs Month when the number transition for TV songs sounded like a Livin' La Vida Loca cover? Yeah, that was Livin' La Furiosa from Bible Man, which is a direct-to-video show about a guy turned into a Christian superhero by God. It's about as silly as you think it is. That said, it's a sort of campy charm to it, like Adam West's Batman, but with lightsabers and Jesus. And there is a moral to each episode. One of these morals is to not surrender to the idea of wrath. Wrath, as some know, is one of the 7 deadly sins. Bible Man must not succumb to it when one of his enemies, the terrifying El Furioso, uses his gold fury dust to force rage on both Bible Man and a middle schooler who just lost his parents. Furioso sings about this great plan of his in, of course, a cover of a song about people going crazy in other ways.
Nothing wrong with speaking out and screaming your objections. Even if it hurts a bud, he's gonna learn a lesson. Now is the time to hit your favorite mind.
Now, there is nothing wrong with anger itself, especially in response to an injustice. However, thinking there is nothing wrong with indulging in anger is the problem. Uncontrolled rage and wrath can cause you to hurt yourself and others you care about super easily, especially for someone with a strong sense of justice like the Bible Man. Trying to balance this with helping a despaired youth too really takes a lot out of the guy.
Yesterday they had to score, making fun of you. But today, make them soar. You got so much to prove.
Justifying it like that doesn't help either. Furioso sees Christ and God as indifferent reveries that only take and don't give or care towards others. Trying to convince others to enjoy their lives as freely as they can isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is destructive when it involves doing so by surrendering yourself to dark emotions. Bible Man is able to defeat Furioso and his henchmen, instilling the fear of God to them in the process. This isn't just a play on words. God saved Bible Man from Furioso's attack and vaporized him. So now he was afraid to attack him to avoid the same thing. Bible Man is full of different tracks that showcase different morals within the show, but man, this one was so catchy and upbeat that it kind of makes me want to live a little Furiosa myself. But I would rather not, because it's unhealthy and I don't want to hurt those I care about. So, we're going to be cutting back on the themed months after this. Why? Because finding candidates to fit every single theme is very hard, especially for this month. There really aren't many Christian video games that are worth playing, and those that are don't have villain songs. But then we in the writer's room had our collective aha moment once we remembered that we were allowed to talk about covers as long as it recontextualized, with the fan-made segment being the only exception. So, Guitar Hero, anyone? Oh yeah, we had to go with Guitar Hero 3's cover of The Devil Went Down to Georgia by Charlie Daniels. You guys know that I'm a sucker for music battles, and The Devil Went Down to Georgia is arguably one of the most famous ones. To fully grasp the spiritual meanings behind this song, we need to unpack its origin. Charlie Daniels based this song on the old legend of Faust, where the main character loses his soul after, say it with me folks, he makes a deal with the devil. You think people would have wisened up by now? But Daniels takes this Faustian legend and writes it so that he prevails against the devil, and does it all in the classic bluegrass style. Amen and yeehaw! The song has been covered numerous times at this point, but Guitar Hero 3 makes this song the boss fight for the main villain of career mode, Lou. I already made the Lucifer joke in Devil Bosses, I ain't doing it again here. The Devil Went Down to Georgia serves as Lou's theme song for the game. The transformation of the song from bluegrass to rock and roll is one that actually works in its favor. Despite not being in that signature country twang, Steve We Met still manages to sing this fast-paced tune as well as the artists who came before him.
Johnny, rising up your bow and play that fiddle hard. 'Cause hell broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold. But if you lose, the devil gets your soul.
Since you play as a group of aspiring rock stars who are tricked into signing a contract with Lou, it only makes sense that a song about freeing oneself from the devil's grasp would be his villain song. Lou is giving the group that chance to break out of their contract as long as they can beat him in a music battle, similar to the old tale the song is based on. And believe me when I say that overpowering the literal devil in this musical boss fight is a lot harder than one might expect. An allegory for real life, perhaps? I mean, Charlie Daniels thought so, and he went on a long-winded rant about it, but rest in peace regardless. I mean, what else can I say? It's Devil Went Down to Georgia covered by a heavy metal band with the devil as their lead singer. It's as catchy and fast-paced as the original and serves as a very difficult but fun Guitar Hero boss fight. While the song itself doesn't reference Christianity, at least not the heavenly side of it, you'll definitely need the power of God and rock and roll on your side if you want to show the satanic son of a bitch the best there's ever been.
Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. Devils in the house, it's rising sun. Chicken in the bread, bam, picking out gold. Granny's don't buy no child, no.
Now watch us play our part. Now watch us dance and sing. Don't want to fall apart like kids who never seem to scream.
We're talking about Christianity-themed songs, we're talking about fan-made songs. Yep, we're talking about Hazbin Hotel again. It might not be my exact cup of tea, but it is hard to deny the scale of this show's fan base. But this time, there's an interesting twist. The song we're talking about today doesn't accurately reflect the show, because it belongs to the dorky, duck-obsessed king of pride, Lucifer.
Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond of you.
While the show's portrayal of Lucifer is the farthest thing from villainous you could get, the initial fanbase assumed he would be another obstacle in Charlie's way, and no song epitomizes that more than Sewell's Halos in Hell. This is a slow, sinister-sounding song that tells of a hypothetical Lucifer's pessimistic outlook of his daughter's optimistic goals. While Charlie's idealistic approach seems like everything will turn out fine, her father here has a harsher view of reality.
They can't be saved, no, they can't be changed. They won't get a chance at life again. Cause Baggy has rage, and Angel's a slave to cocaine and different types of men.
Lucifer points out the sins and vices of the other members of the cast, convinced they'll never change. He's so convinced that they're all lost causes that he's not even willing to give them a chance. In fact, he sounds almost offended at the idea of redemption.
Cause there won't be no halos in hell. No, there won't be no happy hotel. No, there won't be no angels to fell. Cause there won't be no halos. Promise me there's no halo. Cause I really hate halo.
Your mileage may vary on how much Lucifer genuinely believes redemption is impossible and is warning his daughter from his perspective, or how much of it is his own spite towards heaven and projecting that hate onto his daughter's dreams. But that's what makes this song so fascinating. It takes a peek into a what-if scenario, an alternative reality where Lucifer's a more villainous and overarching character, a figure representing how reality for hell can be harsh, cruel, and uncaring for redemption. A fitting song for the Morningstar himself.
Cut!